I'm often asked whether I see a role for women in technology. Hence the motivation for this talk. I really hope that my story will encourage other women to realize their potential and their impact. I have never questioned whether I have a role in technology. My reaction was not only do I have a role, but I actually have a great responsibility. My gender is not a deficit. I'm motivated by problem solving, driven by curiosity. If I am presented with a problem that I have passion to solve, and it's challenging enough, I jump in with my 2 feet and don't need the 3rd foot to do it. I swim with the sharks. I swim with the sharks and do whatever it takes to try to solve the problem. I find any suggestion that my gender makes me an outsider absolutely ridiculous. The Islamic Revolution in Iran turned me to an outsider in my childhood, and I'll never let it happen again. Lately, I have learned that I don't need to prove myself to anyone, men or women. This is probably why I have been more interested in jobs where I can build the culture and the work environment, and that I have dealt with, and the work environment. So you could say that I have dealt with glass ceiling by completely breaking it and smashing it. First by starting my own companies, and then taking the senior leadership role in large corporates where I had a say in how things would run. I have learned that if you know your stuff, love what you do, work hard, are confident, do the right thing, collaborate with others, and don't let anyone step over you, men or women, with a bit of luck, you will succeed. The last thing we want to do is to build our career by focusing on how to fit in a male-dominant system and emulate the stereotype of a male executive. Instead, I focus on doing the right thing and lead like most women in an inclusive way and with a spirit of collaboration and teamwork. Thank you. Thank you. Looking back at history, all the way back to the Stone Age, women and men had a very distinct role. Women took care of everyone, while men were hunting for food. Women collaborated with each other, gathered food, and fed everyone, while men played and hunted. Women gave birth, nurtured, and raised girls and boys. In technical terms, women were the creator of the community cluster. As time passed, this way of living and thinking was ingrained in our gene. We are nurtured and collaborated. We built the fabric of life. We supported and empowered men to focus on hunting. We led a community cluster that was called the tribe. We became the holders of wisdom and passed the wisdom from one member of the cluster to another. We enabled them to discover each other, connect, bound, and communicate with each other. We gathered and discovered other wisdom holders from other clusters, and we enabled discovery, connection, and communication between members of cluster. There's a little hidden joke here that only mimicians understand. Meanwhile, we create edgeCloud, but we can't control PowerPoint. Meanwhile, men were hunting for food and learning to compete with each other. Yes, wait for that. As time passed, we continued leading behind the scene as nurturers and supporters. As nurturers, fairness, equality, forgiveness, protection, giving, collaboration, and sense of responsibility for others was ingrained in us, and we learned to be selfless. As for our beloved hunters, they evolved from hunting for survival to hunting for wealth and power, wanting more, accumulating more, competing to be the number one, feeling powerful by increasing the gap between themselves and others, competing to become the central holder of power, wisdom, with the ultimate quest of being the one and only, enforcing a cluster called the family. Men moved from measuring the size of their hunt to the size of their property and the wealth they accumulated. They were on a quest to be the central power that managed all discovery, connection, and communication in as big of a cluster as possible. If they didn't succeed in the greater society, they would enforce their power inside home, the omnipresent force that had a say in everything. Obviously, only a few succeeded. Given the nature of a centralized power structure, yet social and peer pressure makes most of them live their lives with the goal of amassing power and wealth. In this competition, some of us women try to emulate men, but most of us remain to be nurturers. We put all our care and attention to nurturing and providing for everyone. In this journey, where severe consequences and impacts on our society, on our family members, on our value system, and on planet. We bought into the fallacy that the quest for success as individuals lead to collective success for everyone. My hunter doesn't click the mouse properly. Women really need to ponder, where did we go wrong? How did we end up here? Is it our fault? Is it the way we nurtured and raised these hunters? How did we get from nurturing and loving to wars and terrorism and environmental disaster? How did we go from struggling for food of all to quest for instant fame and accumulation of wealth that for the very few who achieved cannot possibly even spend in their lifetime? How can we make it right? Is there a role for women to lead and steer society's direction to the right course? Where do we start? Should we rethink our role and responsibility from being the support system to the hunter to a leader-less society full of nurturers? The promise of internet was to be peer-to-peer with open flow of information. However, today, 70% of all internet traffic is influenced by Facebook, Google, and Amazon. Technology has undoubtedly empowered our lives and provides great advantages in many areas such as communication, health, and energy management, automation in manufacturing and retail, and many other verticals. However, our data is being exploited with our vulnerabilities to maximize the click-through and eyeballs, and this is just the tip of iceberg. As the world becomes more connected, with tens of billions of devices that measure our every move, our digital lives will become even more prone to abuse. It's time to look at the future and decide how to bring the internet to its original vision of openness. How do we turn the table for the end user so that we own and control our data versus making our data available, free to manipulate our decision? As engineers, we have a responsibility to develop solutions that positively impact our lives. We need to think through the ethics of developing and using technologies. I believe our role as women in technology is to grab the wheel from the few central authorities and lead the society. We must drive toward a decentralized world intended to give care for all. Technology has become the fabric of our lives, more impactful than ever in our human history. And decentralization is the necessary foundation that will set it into right course. More than ever, women have an opportunity to lead this technology evolution with a spirit of collaboration, nurturing, and cooperation, completely aligned with our nature. We must get in the forefront of this technology evolution, unite all women, men, boys, and girls to do the right thing for everyone and reverse the status quo that has put our society and planet on the brink of extinction. I'm positive that this is possible, and will only happen with our leadership to ensure freedom for all. Please, please, please trust your instincts, as they are usually right. I hear corporates talk about diversity and inclusion as if we women are rare creatures to be protected. We are half the world population and creators of entire population on Earth. There is something terribly wrong with this centralized society where the power is concentrated in the hand of a few individuals and corporations. We must and can change the course. We have a choice and must pass this choice to our daughters and sons. Teach them all the elements that they need to do the right thing for all. Teach them to be true to themselves and recognize their own abilities. Teach them that there is nothing they cannot do if they put their minds into it and work collaboratively with others to achieve it. Teach them to love, to nurture others, to build a better future for all. The power is in your hands. We can do it. The future is female.